Lesson 2 for January 2 to 8, ready for teaching on January 9, Crisis of Leadership, read by Dr. Percy Harrold. Tuesday, January 5, New Personality. Our text for today is Isaiah 6 verses 5 to 7. So I said, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then one of the seraphim flew to me, having in his hand a live coal, which he had taken with the tongs from the altar, and he touched my mouth with it, and said, Behold, this has touched your lips, your iniquity is taken away, and your sin purged. At the sanctuary or temple, only the high priest could approach the presence of God in the Holy of Holies on the Day of Atonement, and only with a protective smokescreen of incense, or he would die, as we read in Leviticus 16, verse 2. And the Lord said to Moses, Tell Aaron your brother not to come at just any time into the holy place inside the veil, before the mercy seat which is on the ark, lest he die. For I will appear in the cloud above the mercy seat. And verses 12 and 13. Then he shall take a censer full of burning coals of fire from the altar before the Lord, with his hands full of sweet incense, beaten fine, and bring it inside the veil. And he shall put the incense on the fire before the Lord, that the cloud of incense may cover the mercy seat that is on the testimony, lest he die. Isaiah saw the Lord even though he was not the high priest, and he was not burning incense. The temple filled with smoke, as we read in verse 4 of Isaiah chapter 6, reminding us of the cloud in which God's glory appeared on the Day of Atonement, as we read in Leviticus 16 verse 2. Awestruck and thinking he was finished, Isaiah cried out with an acknowledgement of his sin and the sin of his people, reminiscent of the high priest's confession on the Day of Atonement. Let's compare Exodus chapter 33 and verse 20. But he said, You cannot see my face, for no man shall see me and live. And Judges chapter 6 verses 22 and 23. Now Gideon perceived that he was the angel of the Lord. So Gideon said, Alas, O Lord God, for I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. Then the Lord said to him, Peace be with you, do not fear, you shall not die. And Isaiah 6 verse 5, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. And Leviticus 16 and verse 21, Aaron shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat, confess over it all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions, concerning all their sins, putting them on the head of the goat, and shall send it away into the wilderness by the hand of a suitable man. In the book Prophets and Kings, page 308, we read, Standing as it were in the full light of the divine presence within the inner sanctuary, he realized that if left to his own imperfection and inefficiency, he would be utterly unable to accomplish the mission to which he had been called. End of quote. Question, why did the seraph use a live or burning coal from the altar to cleanse Isaiah's lips? Isaiah 6 verses 6 and 7. Then one of the seraphim flew to me, having in his hands a live coal, which he had taken with the tongs from the altar, and he touched my mouth with it, and said, Behold, this has touched your lips, your iniquity is taken away, and your sin purged. The seraph explained that through touching the prophet's lips, his guilt and sin were removed, in verse 7. The sin is not specified, but it need not be limited to wrong speech, because lips signify not only speech, but also the entire person who utters it. Having received moral purification, Isaiah was now able to offer pure praise to God. Fire is an agent of purification because it burns away impurity, as we read in Numbers 31, verse 23. Everything that can endure fire you shall put through the fire, and it shall be clean. and it shall be purified with the water of purification. But all that cannot endure fire you shall put through the water. But the seraph used a coal from the special holy fire of the altar, which God himself had lighted, and which was kept perpetually burning there, as we read in Leviticus 6:12. And the fire on the altar shall be kept burning on it, it shall not be put out. And the priest shall burn wood on it every morning, and lay the burnt offering in order on it, and he shall burn on it the fat of the peace offerings. So the seraph made Isaiah holy as well as pure. There is more. In worship at the sanctuary or temple, the main reason for taking a coal from the altar was to light incense. Compare Leviticus 16, 12 and 13, where the high priest is to take a censer full of coals from the altar and use it to light incense. But in Isaiah 6, the seraph applies the coal to Isaiah rather than to incense. Whereas Isaiah wanted to offer incense, Isaiah became like incense. Just as holy fire lights incense to fill God's house with holy fragrance, it lights up the prophet to spread a holy message. Let's look at Leviticus chapter 16, verses 12 and 13. Then he shall take a censer full of burning coals of fire from the altar before the Lord, with his hands full of sweet incense beaten fine, and bring it inside the veil. And he shall put the incense on the fire before the Lord, that the cloud of incense may cover the mercy seat that is on the testimony, lest he die. It is no accident that in the very next verses of Isaiah 6, verses 8 and onwards, God sends Isaiah out to his people. Let's read some of that. Isaiah 6, beginning at verse 8, "And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then he said, Here I am, send me. And he said, Go and tell this people, keep on hearing, but do not understand. Keep on seeing, but do not perceive. Make the heart of this people dull and their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and return to be healed. Then I said, Lord, how long? And he answered, Until the cities are laid waste and without inhabitant, the houses are without a man, the land is utterly desolate. The Lord has removed men far away, and the forsaken places are many in the midst of the land." God sends Isaiah out to his people. So to finish today, read prayerfully Isaiah's response in Isaiah 6, verse 5, to his vision of God. Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. How do we see in it an expression of the basic problem, that of a sinful people existing in a universe created by a holy, holy, holy God, as it says in Isaiah 6:3. Why was Christ on the cross the only possible answer to this problem? What happened at the cross that solved this problem?
Hi there. Thanks for watching this video on the Advent-band Ministries YouTube channel. Please subscribe and click the bell icon to be alerted whenever we upload new videos. So, until we meet him in the clouds, may God continue to bless you.
This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. It's supported by the Sabbath School Department and Hope Channel Australia, and is rebroadcast by Christian Record Services and through podcasts at It Is Written in the United States, Hope Channel Germany, and through Apple iTunes and SoundCloud. Remember, God is always faithful.